Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last meeting in May of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm President Becky Greenwald. So each week I like to share a little Rotary factoid with everyone. And following our international theme today, I just wanted to mention that yesterday the Rotary International 2024 convention wrapped up after 5 days in Singapore. And just as a reminder, in 2025, the conference is going to be on this continent in the beautiful town of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It'll be June 21st through the 25th, so keep that in mind. That's not too far to travel to a beautiful part of North America. So thinking about what do we want to talk about internationally, there's so much going on with Rotary, which is very attractive to many of us. I thought it'd be fun to take a look at 5 special clubs that stand out not only for their service, but their extraordinary locations. And I've got to give credit to Rotary District 3131 in India, that's actually located in the Maharashtra state, for this list of 5 extreme clubs. So I'm going to take them at their word for it. But the most remote, and if you've ever been to one of these clubs, you raise your hand because we'll give you a round of applause. The most remote club is the Rotary Club of Papeete, Tahiti. It's about an 18-hour flight from Des Moines, nestled in French Polynesia. Papeete is the capital of Tahiti and one of the largest towns in the South Pacific. And I saw different population numbers, but it looks like they're around 27,000 population last count. Anybody been there? Nope, okay. Some of you that like to do first trips, this might be a new one for you to try. So despite its isolation, the club is vibrant and active, and they engage in so many various community projects that benefit the local population. Okay, so now let's talk about our southernmost club, and that is the Rotary Club at Base Marambio, and that's located in the Argentina's permanent year-round station in the Antarctic. So not in Argentina, but in Antarctic. And this base was operated as one of the most extreme populations and hospitable environments on Earth. And it's where they had the station's permanent year-round, and the researchers and scientists located on the base demonstrates the global reach of Rotary and how we can be so adaptable to harsh conditions. Northernmost club is in Ukiak, I didn't say that right, Ukiak, Alaska, which is more commonly known as Barrow. Back in 2016, they voted to change the name back to their original name, Ukiak. And it's home of the Rotary Club of Barrow. It sits above the Arctic Circle on the Arctic Ocean, and that's where the sun does not shine for weeks in the winter and does not set for weeks in the summer. Anybody been there? Okay. Well, how about the highest club in the world is actually located at over 16,000 feet above sea level, and it is the Rotary Club of El Aguilar in Argentina, high in the Andes Mountains. And it is listed as the highest Rotary Club in the world. It's actually a mining town, has a population of just over 3,600 people, and in the rugged Andes Mountains, they face those usual challenges associated with high altitude, limited oxygen, and harsh terrain. And now, to contrast with that, the lowest club in the Rotary family is actually the Rotary Club of El Centro, located in California's Imperial Valley, and it's at a negative 30.76 feet below sea level. And I have been to El Centro, but I have not visited the club. Anybody been down there, right down on the border? Well, they face a lot of agricultural sustainability and water management challenges. And again, I noted something interesting. They meet at noon on Thursdays, and their lunch is $22 a week at the Strike Zone restaurant there in El Centro. So just kind of thought you'd like to know about some of these extreme clubs. And now we've got so many inspirational things coming our way with some special guests that I'm just going to write in and lead us all into the Pledge of Allegiance and the 5-way test.
We added one.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The 5-way four-way test with 5.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun?
Please greet your other Rotarian members.
Hi, Mark.
Hey,
Hi there, Kathy Adams. Thank you. Hi there, Kathy Adams. Nice to meet you.
How are you?
100% great. Yes, great. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a great yeah.
Banker.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Chasing Doug, I
Yeah,
feel the
I
wrong way.
figured initially.
You're trying to shake your hand, you're walking away. You're following your
It is, yeah. How about you? You're doing good?
All right.
Yep. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You still haven't done
Taylor
that.
Tilstra, Abby
Well,
Sherman.
figure it out. Are you gonna be up in Clear Lake all June? Are you gonna be up in Clear Lake all June?
Oh, yeah, Lindsay. Yep, Katie Carter.
Well, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, good to see you. Yeah.
I've thought about it, I just haven't done anything.
Great, wonderful to see everybody and making those hellos in combination. We have one guest today, and I would like to ask Kathy Adams to please stand so that we can welcome you. Kathy is with the Community State Bank, and she is a guest today of Steve Jacobs. Welcome, Kathy. Okay, and it is tumbler time. So if you don't have a $sign on your name badge, we always encourage donating $5 into the cup on your table, and you can always give a little cash in there as well, because those funds go directly to our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation, which is how we support the many projects with the Des Moines Rotary Club of Des Moines. And as always, thank you for your contributions to the Rotary Club Foundation. And we've got a birthday person among us here today. Let's all get Steve Belay a happy birthday. Welcome and celebrating with us. Happy birthday, Steve. All his face is getting a little red. So. Secret's out. Today's your birthday. Have a great day. And thanks for sharing it with us. And we have a special guest with some inspiration for us today. You know, we like to invite our scholarship recipients back to the club to tell us about their academic journey. And today we have our North High School graduate who's attending Iowa State University. And I will, yeah, okay. Got some heads up for Iowa State. And I'll let her tell you more, but Muyama Benin is with us, and she goes by Benin, but her name means gift of God. So come on up, Benin.
Okay, hello? Can you hear me well? Okay, as I have been introduced already, my name is Muhaimana Benin, but I do go by Benin because it is easier to pronounce. But a little bit about me. Many of you may not remember me, but I have spoken in front of some of you before. But only then I was about to enter Iowa State University, and now I'm going to be a senior this upcoming fall. And I'm majoring in dietetics with a minor in human development and family studies. So, a little bit about my academics. I have been on the Dean's List every year since I started Iowa State. I maintained a 4.0 GPA, and I take summer classes yearly to get ahead with my degree requirements. After I graduate from undergrad next year, I plan to attend, nobody get surprised, but I plan to attend the University of Iowa's Masters of Clinical Nutrition. Opposing sides, I know. I hope to get started in their Masters of Clinical Nutrition program, where I can get started with my career and qualify to sit for the RD exam. In the long term, I plan to advance my career by becoming a specialist in pediatric nutrition or a certified specialist in gerontological nutrition. Also very opposing sides, just like the schools. In the spring of my sophomore year, I did get the amazing opportunity to study abroad in South Korea for a semester. I met so many amazing people and continued studying the Korean language, explored what Korea had to offer, and tried so many new things. It has definitely been the highlight of my college career, and I can't wait to visit again. In the future, I am very interested in being able to study internationally or even work internationally if possible. Now, as for what I've been doing outside of classes, I have 3 part-time jobs. I have been working as a dietary aide at Green Hills Retirement Community in Ames for a little over 2 years now, and I enjoy all the fun conversations I get to have with the residents and learn about them as I go. They teach and tell me a lot, some of which I feel like I shouldn't know, but I get told it anyway. I also work as a community assistant for American Campus Communities, which is the largest owner, developer, and manager of student housing in the United States. And finally, I have been working with the Rotary District 6000 Prevent Human Trafficking Action Team, and I'm learning a lot about human trafficking and the great work that Rotary is doing. And I do have a full-time job as the eldest of 7, but unfortunately, my mom says I can't get paid for being born first. Now, to the Rotary Scholarship, having the scholarship has helped me in so many ways, and I will forever be grateful for it. I used to believe that I wouldn't be able to attend college because of the financial burden it had brought, but having generous scholarships such as this one have changed how I see the future and how I go about it quite literally. But as the eldest of an immigrant household and a first-generation student, I have had a lot of important decisions without guidance in terms of my education. And I'm thankful that the Rotary Scholarship has made my decision to attend college that much easier because it does make a big difference. I have been able to pursue my dreams, and the closer I get, the more thankful I become. I'm able to set an example for my siblings and their future, as well as set up a life for myself. Once again, I thank you all for the generous scholarship that I've received and for your contributions to helping many more students just like me. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for listening to my rambling. I did go a little bit on. And if you want to convince me if I should choose pediatrics or geriatrics, please be my guest. And I really need the help since they're also on opposing sides. Thank you.
And thank you for journeying to our club again to fill us in. It's so exciting to see what you've got ahead of you with your studies and your life. Okay, so now I would like to ask past president and current vice chair of the International Service Committee, Deanne Thompson, to introduce our program.
Good afternoon. Good to see everybody. The International Service Committee has been an important part of Rotary Club of Des Moines for as long as I can remember. Because of several circumstances, it was dormant for an entire year. However, with the tenacity of its members, the International Service Committee was off the ground and flying high again this year. I'd like to highlight those committee members and ask anyone in attendance to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your hard work. Now comes the fun part. The committee is charged with finding a qualified organization with roots in the metro area that has 2 qualities: programming that impacts global communities and alignment with core causes of Rotary International. And if we need to be reminded of those core causes, they are promoting peace, fighting disease, providing clean water, sanitation and hygiene, saving mothers and children, supporting education, growing local economies, and protecting the environment. Covers a lot of things. After contacting more than 40 organizations and filtering through applications we received, the committee is proud to announce we are awarding a $3,000 grant to the Rotary Club of Ames for its Sustainable Community Water Project in the Same District of Tanzania. The Ames Club has been instrumental in bringing clean water to this area since 2013, and we are proud to help this cause. To tell us more about their success for more than a decade and their plans moving forward, we have Glenn, oh my goodness, I totally failed. Glenn, how do you pronounce your last name?
Ripkey.
Ripkey. That would be so embarrassing to pronounce that correctly. And David Fox from the Rotary Club of Ames. Glenn retired from Iowa State University in February of 2020. At ISU, Glenn was on staff in Ag and Biosystems Engineering and managed the Grain Quality Research Lab. He's now chair of the Ames Global Grants team. And today Glenn is going to talk about Rotary projects, water projects in Tanzania and the impact that they have on local communities. Glenn first visited Tanzania in 2007 with fellow church members and then with Rotary in 2011, 2012, and 2019. Along with 12 others, Glenn started an NGO, Empower Tanzania, that also works in the same district doing programs in health, education, and rural development. Dave retired from active practice with his company, Fox Engineering, in Ames in 2008. His 45 years of environmental engineering experience have proven invaluable to the Global Grants team, helping to complete 4 water projects with an application for a 5th under review, totaling over $1.4 million in scope. Let's give a warm Rotary welcome to Glenn and Dave.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here. We appreciate the invitation and in particular appreciate the funding support that you folks have been so kind to give for all of our projects, for previous and now for our 5th project. It's been a great help and we want to thank you in person. Give you a little background and bring you up to date on what has happened. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what our future project is. Glenn's going to speak a little bit about the impacts these projects have had on the communities in Tanzania that we have worked on. Said originally, perhaps when I've been speaking to your club in the past once or twice, we talked a lot about the engineering aspects of these projects because at the first one or two, that's all we had to talk about. My wife has told me that not very many people are interested in that. And that perhaps it would be better to bring up what benefits have actually accrued because of that. So that's what Glenn's going to cover, and now that we've done 4 projects, we have a lot of interesting things that we can document. So who do I point this at? Anyway, mentioned we've done 4 projects. This summarizes the 4, which total over $1 million in 4 projects. For all practical purposes, somewhere around $250,000 each for the first 3 and $325,000 for the 4th one. The first 2 projects were entire water systems, which involved drilling wells, building storage tanks, building distribution piping and distribution points. The last one in the village of Mahezi, they were up on the side of a mountain and they had a spring source up there. We tapped that spring and did the same thing, providing treatment. And the spring source, we had filtration and disinfection. The other well projects actually had the wells had very high quality water, so all we had to do was disinfect that. So that has all worked out well, and go ahead. This is just a slide that shows some of the infrastructure that has been built as part of these projects, storage tanks, well houses, treatment buildings, headworks for the spring source, and distribution point in the upper left-hand corner. That's pretty much all we're gonna say about infrastructure. What Rotary's goal, back when we started these programs back in 2011, 12, and 13, when Rotary decided that they would like to get their grant projects to be more sustainable and have larger impacts, that the Rotary Foundation actually funded in pilot districts about a dozen pilot studies of actually doing needs assessment, or what in the engineering profession we would call a simple preliminary engineering report. It's amazing how many people in previous times started out on projects having no idea what was required, and more importantly, what the local folks actually wanted and could use. And that's what this whole process was about. Needs assessment was done in 2012 and 13, identified 7 villages. We have completed 3 of them, and the Tanzanian government has done the other 4, is very close to completing the other 4. One of the goals then is to establish whether these projects actually were sustainable, and part of the requirements of TRF is for you to kind of prove that. So, as I mentioned, the needs assessment was done before we started, and when the project is completed, there's a study done to identify what the baseline conditions are in the villages. Then, after 18 months of operation, you update that to see what improvements have actually been made, whether it is continuing to be sustainable, and do another one at 36 months. And all of those are part of the process of delivery of the project and are part of the grant funding. Now, Glenn's going to come up and talk to you a little bit about some of the impacts of these projects.
Good afternoon. One of the first things we ran across on the application is what kind of impacts do you expect to have with this grant? And for the most part, we pretty much wrote them down, and we filled out the forms, and we were getting this pretty much. But this project turned out to be more of a women's project than just a water project, because it had the biggest impact on the women of the community. Having water within 400 meters of every home meant that they didn't have to walk miles or kilometers or whatever for days or hours and spend all their time doing that. So that gave them time to do other things. As you can see, more economic opportunities. Some started businesses, some just took care of the animals that they had at their homes, and gardens, just things that they just plain didn't have time for. But now they do. From the next one, that's the women's part. And then the education. We knew that this would free up the students too. In Tanzania, in the rural parts, the women and girls were in charge of getting the water. Boys and men were in charge of herding the livestock. So that kept both the girls and the boys out of school, especially during the dry season where you didn't know how far you had to go for water. So now all of a sudden, water's right there. And the first village, Kigogo, went even further. Happened somehow or another to be a little money left over in the budget, and the Rotary Club of Same quick put in a livestock watering station. Now, it wasn't in the village, it was across the highway, because when the livestock herds come in from the Maasai and other large herds, you're going to either see cattle or sheep or goats and even camels. But they all come in and they all pay something to get water, because the next closest water is the Pangani River, which is several hours away. But this water is clean and doesn't have crocodiles or hippos to fight. And they're more than willing to pay for the clean water. So, in the education side of it, like I said, both boys and girls have time to go to school now. So the attendance is way up, performance is way up. And even the health of all of this is intertwined with all of this. So, peace and harmony in the village, this wouldn't surprise us because this was not on our application. Peace and harmony within the family, there was no more arguments about water. You know, Mom was home when she said she was gonna be home because she got water. And that was a big, big plus. And then all of a sudden, meals were ready on time because she didn't have to go find the water first. It was there. So less conflict within the families, and then the conflict within the communities. Again, people would fight over water for whatever reason, and that just kind of disappeared. Now it's, hey, you can go first at the distribution point, or you can go first because they know they're gonna get water. It's that simple. So, environmental impact. This is kind of nice because when they have time to do things, one of the first things they started doing was taking care of the environment around them. It didn't get put on the back burner, so to speak. So people were starting to take care of their homes better and starting to plant trees and kind of control the rain, not the rain, the soil control. I've been there in a couple pretty heavy downpours, and boy does that water run, and boy does it turn red in a hurry because of the red soil. And a lot of that started to be taken care of. Water management, then like I said, they were planting gardens and making the most use of the water that's available to them. So, this is a good one. This is a fun one. Community health. We can all read the slide and we can see what it looks like. And it's really great. Please go to the next slide. I like the hard numbers. I got 3 of these slides, one for each of the villages, and these were collected at the local clinics or medical centers. So that it wasn't just a quick survey taken around the community, these were actually from the medical people. And as you notice, before the project and after the project, very seldom will you see a 0, but you'll see some really severe decreases. And that's what we were looking for, and that's what we wanted to see. Next one. The only problem I have with any of these slides is they report them all in different units, so you have to kind of go with the flow and just notice they're all trending the right direction, and we like that. And this is the big deal. The last one. This is only Mehazi 1, doesn't have Mehazi 2 in it yet. These will be updated the next time we go over with the next water project, so we're hoping to see even better numbers. But these are pretty darn good. So we can say that we've made an impact. Economic community. One of the things we did put down on the expected impacts is we expected people to move back to the villages because they had water. And boy did they. And when they moved back, they started building houses, which meant all of a sudden there was construction jobs. And there was the first village had a brick maker move in. So he was making bricks right on site because he had water. You know, he could do that. And then once, you know, they're there, the entrepreneurial spirit took over and they're making concrete blocks. They're growing more crops. And like I told you about the livestock watering station across the highway, well, all of a sudden there was people coming up looking for food. So they started selling food, making small meals for people. So things happen when you have water. So what next? Well, this is where Dave gets to talk about what's next. So.
As I mentioned before, we require, TRF requires needs assessments. The first needs assessment that was done in 2012 identified those 7 villages which are now taken care of. So to move on, we had to do another needs assessment. Local folks in the Same Rotary Club, our project manager that Becky's met before, is very, very energetic and also an excellent data collector and writer. He's got a master's in sociology and he's really good at it. Actually, if any of you would like this needs assessment, I have copies I can send to you. It's 146 pages.
There'll be a quiz.
That's all right. Not gonna go through it. Anyway, the results were they evaluated 10 more communities, and from that, they picked the Boudet and Manamu as the group that should be the next project. Because when they're up on the side of a mountain, Manamu happens to be at the top of the mountain and Boudet is halfway down, and a project using another spring, large spring that's near this top could serve both communities. We were fortunate that since we started working there, that government has created a group that is called the Rural and Urban Water and Sanitation Authority, and they have offices in all the districts, and one in the Same district. Very talented group of folks, especially their engineering staff. And somehow or another, we talked them into doing the background data collection. They did all the survey work, which you can imagine on the side of a mountain wasn't exactly very easy. They did the design of the project, which included all the structures and the piping locations, and they did the cost estimate. Originally, one of our other engineers in our global grants team, he and I did all that in the first two projects, but now we don't have to. So they came up with an estimate somewhere between $1 million and $1.4 million to do this project, and we said, oh my goodness, I don't think we can do that. It would take us a number of years to raise over $1 million. I mean, we've had, fortunately, it takes us a year or two to raise the $250,000 we've done for these projects before, so. We had a meeting and decided that if we could do something in the $300,000 or $400,000 price range, that they actually said that out of their budget, they would finish it, which that was kind of, we almost fell over from that. And that was, hasn't happened yet, so I'm not too sure that I should believe it, but that is the latest word that we've had. So we are now proceeding with we now have, since they designed this, we have picked out the initial section that we have a project application for about $350,000. That includes the development of the spring source and the impoundment structure for that, the piping that goes from there down to the main storage tank that will serve both communities eventually. Some piping and distribution points within Manamu. So that is what our application has been made for, and we're ready to submit it. But I have said that the District 9214, which is in the entire country of Tanzania, is right now in the process of reviewing that application. They seem to think that they need to do that. I don't know why particularly. Glenn has another project going north of there that they've been reviewing for over a year. We have little, if any, leverage on doing anything about that. We've tried. So we're not too sure how long it's going to take to get this project off the ground, but it's ready to go. We have it funded thanks to you and others. We hope to, said Ruasa is going to do the rest of the project to serve the rest of Manamu and Boudet, and then we hope to, our next goal is to generate a project to complete the environmental aspects by doing sanitation and hygiene education to go along with this in these communities. So, with that, I would be happy, and Glenn will be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Becky, you show people how to hold water.
Yeah, I will tell them.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the financial side. I see that, in one of the slides, it was like the village decides the pricing. I just wonder how it's financially sustainable. of these projects?
Each of these villages has their own, basically, like a water board that is in charge of administering the water system in their community. They set rates. When we go over to do operator training, training of this water committee and the villagers in general, that Becky's met Mr. Kajugo, and he was here a year or so ago. I talked to you folks. He was the controller for the Lutheran diocese on this, so he's pretty knowledgeable in budgets and how to do things. And he does the training to set up budget for expenses and otherwise, and they have a charge rate set up just like you do for your water. Except for the most part, they collect theirs at the distribution points when you come and get it. But there are a lot of people in Masandari in particular that have recently decided to run service directly to their homes, and whenever they do that, they put a meter in and do the things just like we're used to. And that particular village has required them, whenever they hook up to the water system, that they can't do it unless they put a bathroom in their house and put in a septic tank. So they're making progress. Does that help?
Yeah.
Can you tell us, me?
Sure.
Can you tell us, the original 7 villages, 4 was funded by the Tanzanian government, and the first 3 with various Rotary groups. So help us understand, did you shame the Tanzanian government into?
Well, I don't know that that's totally true. I think they had some visions of doing some of these. Why they chose to do the ones that we picked out in our needs assessment, I don't really know the story behind that. But it has been, the first times that we went over to visit with the government officials, that for the most part, they were sitting there looking at their cell phones while we were talking to them, because there have been so many folks come and promise them things that never happened, that they did not believe we were gonna do anything that was actually gonna work. After we did a project, especially the local district engineering staff finally believed that we actually knew what we were doing, and it worked. And that's what this RUASA, the Rural Urban Water and Sanitation Authority, didn't exist when we started, and that has been developed. And they have frankly adopted 4 or 5 of our standard procedures in our on our projects that they now use themselves, including the way we do the chlorination system and other things that we've adopted. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. I couldn't say for sure, but it seems like a reasonably logical conclusion.
You list non-Rotary partners, specifically IVR. Do they offer programs that raise funds that go to your project?
IV has been, as you have been a sponsor of all 4 of our projects and our 5th one in significant numbers, and we've been very thankful for them. Just mention that they showed up at our meeting a couple of months ago, and February 4th dropped off a check at our club meeting for $100,000. So yeah, they have been a great partner and are very supportive of what we're doing.
A lot of the disease comes from human waste getting into the water supply. But what was the situation before the projects? How was that all handled, and how is it handled now? How is wastewater treated or handled?
It isn't. Yet. That's,
They have their own
next goal is, have to start with water. That's one of our main selling points. But after that, we need to, if they're lucky, they have outhouses now in a lot of places. It's about as good as it gets, except, they're trying to convince people to put bathrooms in their homes and put in septic tanks, so that's the next thing for an individual basis. There's no community-wide treatment that I've seen anywhere in the area we're working in. So that's our next goal after we get some of these things done. Over here.
I'm assuming that a mountain is spring, you can distribute the water with just gravity, but what about aren't there wells where you need to pump, you have sources of?
No, the wells each have a submersible pump in them, similar to what a lot of communities have here. And they are sized to pump that water from the well into the storage tank, which is like the water towers or storage tanks you have that are high enough to then provide the pressure for the service to the village.
Do you have a good source of electrical power?
Good question. First, in Kagogo, the first village we did, that village had no electricity. The the water supply is deep enough that in order to get about 30 gallons a minute out of the well, we had to have a 7.5 horse pump in order to do that. And so $60,000 of our initial grant was to run power to Kagogo to furnish that, operate that well. And then, of all things, then pretty soon the school had power, individual homes had power. I said the last time I was there was one of the houses that had a satellite dish on it. Quite a few of them. Several of them do now.
Excellent.
Yes. Do you have any problem getting chlorine or other disinfecting chemicals?
That's another interesting story. When I first went over there, we were looking for some sodium hypochlorite, which is maybe even if we're lucky in a liquid form, which is used commonly here. Nobody had ever heard of it. We ended up finding a source for calcium hypochlorite in a dry powder form that then we had to show the operators how to mix that and get it to a point where they could pump it into the system with a little diaphragm pump. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. They don't always have everything that you're accustomed to. But that's another thing. We have found a distributor in Arusha, which is right up the road from where we're at, that actually has a lot of stuff and local materials. So now all these folks, we don't have to bring a lot of stuff with us when we go over there. Yeah, Craig Miller furnished a lot of stuff for us to take over for control systems. So, yes.
Yeah, you touched on something that's really interesting to me, the fact that we all build such great trust and relationships with folks within the villages. Could you speak to a little bit more of that and how you maybe overcame cultural barriers or language barriers?
You're right, he's asking about the cultural differences and how we overcame them. One of the big things is just getting to know them. Sit down and talk. My first time over there, I was with the church group, and a lot of the time we were just in conversation the whole time. Everything we've ever done, or any of our projects, is what they suggest. We've never, we might have a little tweak to it here and there, but they suggested water first, and that's where we've been working. How can you say that? Getting to know them takes time. I don't know if you've ever read 3 Cups of Tea by Morrison. That's pretty much what we're doing. So.
Do they speak English?
That's a really good question. Do they speak English? Their education system is a wonderful thing in terms of languages. Everybody has their tribal language. And then they have their area language. So where we were at, they had the Pare language, and then they got into Swahili, which is fine because elementary school, primary school is taught in Swahili. But then you go to secondary school, and secondary school is taught in English. So you can really tell with that little filter how much education people have in a hurry, because this works out well. And English is also the university language. So you could have 4 languages pretty darn quickly in your household. So, and I'm lucky if I can get English out.
This is a wonderful project, and I commend you for your leadership on it. How many of these projects, for instance, might be going on in Tanzania now? And my question goes to, is there some, you feel that one person tells another and one community tells another, and you get a groundswell of interest in taking the initiative to do these things in different areas?
Yeah, I would say so. Right now, I don't think there are very many projects, Rotary projects going on in Tanzania based on the fact that we can't get anybody to approve anything. So, we'll,
But like Empower Tanzania has quite a few projects going on at this time, and water is one of them. They also have a lot of medical stuff working, and so yeah, there's other groups that are getting things done. Right now, the local Rotary district is a little bit of a barrier.
Why is that?
who knows?
Traditionally, they have always been a part of a district. When we first started with District 9200, it was Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And then it became Uganda and Tanzania in 9211, and now it's 9214, just Tanzania. Now that they're all on their own, they're trying to set up their own way of doing things. Rotary Foundation is trying to have every district be somewhat autonomous, so they're trying to basically take hands off while they develop their own, while the district develops their own way of doing things. And they are incredibly slow. And if you ever heard the expression African time, well, they're beating it. What can I say?
Very behind schedule.
Yeah, they're way behind schedule.
Yes, sir.
This is more of a general question than a specific question. The question of electricity came up earlier. How much of Tanzania has reliable electric power?
Very little.
Yeah. If you leave the road to a reliable out, they probably quite a bit, but, when we first started over there, in fact, they told us not to anticipate that you'd have power available more than 50% of the time, which is fairly accurate. It's getting better. And we designed the pump size for the fact that we could only use the pump half the time, and it's all worked out. I might add that one thing that's been kind of interesting is that they have a different system for selling you power. They don't let you use it and send you a bill at the end of the month. You go down and buy so many kilowatts worth of power, and they load that onto your meter, and it runs down. And we found that out by accident one Sunday when we were trying to test the water system, and it wouldn't work. We didn't know why. We found out they'd run out of their allotment of power. So.
We're learning.
Yes.
We have a little presentation with a big physical check, so come on over here, thank you.
We got a girl presenting, so we're doing pink writing. Got it. Yeah,
One
oh,
more.
get one in there.
Hold on.
Great, thank you so much. So every week when we talk about injecting the fun into Rotary, we do really great work, life-changing work with a lot of fun. And Steve's sitting up here, and if I would have been thinking, I would have asked him to bring his conga with us, but
Yes.
along with the fun, when we visited the Rotary Club of Summit, they presented each of us, and it was quite a presentation. We exchanged T-shirts and hats from the Des Moines area and from Rotary, and we all got our unique conga scarf, which was selected for each individual. They were all different, and I've got to tell you, being the leader of the trip, I had the honor of carrying the water on my head at one of the villages in Mezzi, I believe it was, and I started to put the big bucket on top of my head from the well, and the lady just stops and she whips off her scarf, and she turns it into thing and made a nice little round deal and stuck it on my head. And all I had to do was step down off of the platform of the well and walk about 5 steps on flat ground and 5 steps back. And I tell you what, I really appreciated what those women and young ladies had to do when they were carrying water in these big buckets up and down mountainous terrain. That was even a challenge in a 4-wheel drive, wasn't it, Steve?
It was.
Yeah, so it was something else to be able to see firsthand exactly the impact. And the village where they started building the homes, that some of one of the ladies had one of those homes that was with Empowering Tanzania, and she was in the van with us. You could just see the pride that she had, knowing that this is my home. I mean, it really is building a middle class. And a lot of the teachers, I think, and educators and medical folks were some of the first folks. So it was just wonderful to see all the benefits. And we just can't be grateful enough that our club, Rotary Club of Des Moines, has participated in each of the projects. And thank you to Ames with the technology and the skill and the continued veracity to make this work, because they've trained the people there to be able to monitor the water. And they're so proud that I'll never forget the gentleman that was there making sure that the safety levels in the water were so specific. And you would send folks over about every 6 months or so, just to make sure everything stayed within the norms. And it's amazing. And I just wish everyone would have had the opportunity to see it, because wouldn't you say it's life-changing when you see what we've done there?
Well, it was for them, all
Yeah,
of those folks.
yeah, it's great. So thank you. First time I've had this out, I won't be wearing it tomorrow. But at any rate, wonderful to have you here, and I'm glad that we're participating with you again. And so, in honor of you being here, each week we donate a book in honor of our speakers, and we had donated a book in your honor to the Des Moines Public Library Rotary Rosie Reader Van. It's a traveling library that takes reading out to the folks in the community, and we had contributed to that van back in 2020. And so there's the book that will be now part of the Rotary Rosie Reader Van. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And as we go forward, want to remember that you and any of your guests just need to RSVP by 9 a.m. the day before our meeting on Wednesdays. So think about someone that you'd like to invite to Rotary who might be particularly interested in one of our keynote speakers, and maybe make a nice addition to our club. So next week on June 6th, Myrna Johnson will be here with Iowa Public Radio. June 13th, Tiffany Toshek, the President and CEO of the Greater Des Moines Partnership. And on June 20th, Julia Franklin with Mainframe Studios. So we've got fun scheduled for the month of June, like we promised, and thanks to Randy Worth, the big wheel of the Wheels Foundation himself, will be gathering on June 8th, that's a Saturday at 10 a.m. at Camp Dodge, and this is a family-friendly event, so feel free to bring the kids and grandkids, and adults do need to present their driver's license just to get on to Camp Dodge. And then our Second Chance Tuesday will be happening on Tuesday, June 11th at Big Grove Brewery. We've been meeting there each month all year. It's where the fun and fellowship is free and the food and beverage is on your own. So with that, I just want to thank you for being part of our Rotary Club of Des Moines and making us the vibrant club that we are. And until we meet again, let's get out there and have some fun and do good in the name of Rotary. We are adjourned.